Are you winning or just wishing for what you want at work? Welcome to the Own Your BS show, where we help you to strengthen connections, conquer challenges, and claim your messages. I'm Cindy Tien, and in today's exciting episode, we'll be talking about negotiating for what you want when stakes are high. We'll be talking about how to think, how to prepare, and how to respond. And having this very exciting conversation with me today is Scott Harrison. And it brings me such pleasure to introduce this very special person because he is a negotiations trainer who helps people handle tough conversations without losing the plot. Scott has trained teams in 44 countries when the stakes are high and emotions are running hot. And he's been living in Singapore for the last 16 years, and he relishes his eggs, kopi, and kaya toast in the morning. So welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cindy.
You know, I was so looking forward to this conversation, and when we were preparing for this, we were talking about the fact that we have been connected on LinkedIn for some time. We saw each other at speakers communities, but we've never really spoken. How interesting is that?
I think we connected on LinkedIn literally about 14 years ago.
14 years ago. I have not even gotten into this industry yet at that time.
There must have been some connection to do with sales.
There must have been some
Must have been a sales connection. All I know is I've been connected to you for most of my life in Singapore. And we met many times at APSS, but never actually sat down and had a conversation.
Exactly. We've seen each other from far, but never really spoken. Yeah, so this is really interesting. And the reason why we decided to do this was also because I think I got to know you on social media a lot more because, you know, I was so entertained by your kopi, kaya, and eggs videos. They're so entertaining, so cute, and so unusual. And it just kind of takes me right back to the time where when I used to be a kid, because my brother and I, we are obsessed about eggs to the point whereby my brother will wake me up in the middle of the night and he will ask me, Cindy, do you want to eat eggs? And then he'll bring me to the kitchen. We'll go to the kitchen, open raw eggs, crack it into a cup, soy sauce, stir, and we'll just bottoms up. So that was like my Singaporean childhood. So how did you get to Singapore and how did you kind of fall in love with the local food? And I know you married somebody in Singapore as well.
Yeah. Well, coming to Singapore originally was through my job. So a company that I was working for asked me to come over and set up an office here. I was working for a company called Brunel, and that was the reason for coming over, set up the office. But when I arrived in Singapore, I've always been one for embracing local culture. I don't like to go abroad and still... Lots of people go abroad and they still live in their own culture. I like to embrace the local culture. So I was living in the East Coast and I was going to Starbucks for my breakfast, as you do. And I kept noticing this line. There's always this big line outside this, which I now know is Kalini Kopitiam, but I didn't know that at the time. And I'm always going in for my Starbucks and my bagel. I'm thinking, why is there so many people at this? I need to go in and try this. And I went in and I thought, oh, those eggs aren't cooked, that can't be right. And I actually says to the auntie, oh, excuse me, I think the eggs are undercooked. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And she's like, no. But ever since I had that first Nanyang breakfast, I just fell in love with it. The soy sauce, the white pepper, the kopi, the kaya, beautiful. And that just, every single morning of my life for 16 years, I've had a Nanyang breakfast.
That's so cool. And if you have not seen his videos on kopi and kaya toast, you need to go and check it out because people know you as Kopi Scott, right?
Yeah, I get in taxis, I'm walking through the street, I'm in shopping malls, MRTs. People literally shout, hey, Kopi Scott, and want selfies. So, yeah, people know me through my kopi videos, which I just do for fun. Yeah. It's not serious. I don't make an effort to...
But it's super cute. I always enjoy it. And I promise, every time I watch the video, I smile. And I go like, oh, this is so endearing, right? Just you eating the eggs and dipping in. I think there was one time you dropped an egg onto the floor. I was like, oh, no. I really felt that.
But, you know,
that was so funny.
Those videos are 100% unplanned, unscripted. I don't know if you've noticed that. I never plan them, I never script them. I just pull my camera out and I just hit record and I eat my breakfast and I talk about it and people like it.
People like it, yeah, absolutely. You know, we're going to be going into this topic because, totally different from this Kaya and Gopi topic. And let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is really interesting because you are a negotiations expert. And I want to talk about that. And you travel around the world, you've done work around the world on this topic. If I think about this topic of negotiations, I think back about my very first negotiation. I was probably a teenage terror, 12 or 13 years old. I think that was my very first negotiation. I probably didn't know it was a negotiation, but it was one of those days where me and my little girlfriend, 12 or 13 years old, not even almost a teenager, right? We were like wannabe gangsters. So we went to the playground and we saw another 3 girls there. And for some strange reason, we just walked up and confronted them, right? For no reason, we just went and said, hey, you girls are like staring at us. So we just tried to look for trouble. So we went there. And then, of course, they looked at us like they were shocked as well. These 2 young girls coming to confront us. And then we were having a bit of a back and forth debate. And then suddenly one of the girls, she was older than us, yeah? She unbuttoned her shirt a little bit, rolled up her sleeves, took out a cigarette from her back, and then she went with the loudest alien voice and she go, "Ayya, so what do you want?" So when she did that, I promise you, I was so scared. I think I froze, my muscles stiffened and my brain went foggy. And I remember turning to my other friend and I said, "So what do we really want?" So it was that moment where it felt like weird and embarrassing because we are the ones who went to create a drama and, create trouble, and then we didn't know what we want, right? So that was, I think, my first negotiation. First lesson learned is never go into a negotiation not knowing what you want.
Yeah.
So what has your experience been with negotiation? How did you get into this field?
Well, I think just briefly, firstly, you touched on something very important. Negotiation, everyone instinctively thinks of price, of buying, selling, but negotiation is life. You just highlighted that. Negotiation is a conversation with your daughter, or with your peers, but for getting into negotiation, I mean, do you want where it started, or professionally, or where it started in my life?
So where it started how did you get to eventually do it professionally? I know you had a little bit of a kind of background that led you to doing this so well.
Yeah, I grew up in a very rough place called Glasgow in Scotland, which I always say is gritty, not pretty, and you really had to learn how to negotiate, how to communicate, your emotional intelligence skills. But the survival was on the line, safety was on the line, not a lost business deal. So you learn those skills. I got my first job was in a place called British Gas, and it was in the contact centre doing telesales. And I'm in with all these, I remember this fondly. So everyone's like a university graduate and they've got their MBAs and their different sort of degrees and educational. And I just came from the streets of Glasgow and I barely finished high school. I didn't have a degree, didn't go to uni. But what I had was street skills and street smarts. And I'm not joking, I ran rings round them. Like when it got into the doing sales, getting on the telephone, I just surpassed all of them. So the skills that I had learned on the street helped me immensely as I first started. And in that job, what actually happened was there was a department called block acquisitions. So when you do oil and gas drilling, you've got to go to the government and acquire blocks that you're able to do exploration and drilling in. And they heard me on the phones and they came over to my manager and they says, "We want this guy. This guy's got the gift." So getting into that block acquisitions job, which is purely negotiation. So the other job was sales, which includes negotiation, but block acquisition was just negotiation. That's all it is. Negotiating the deal, and I got into that just by them listening to what I was saying. And from there, my career just continued for the next 25 years.
Wow.
So I guess you could say I got into it by mistake, by chance.
So obviously they saw like this gift and the skill in you, the street smart skills. But tell us a little bit about what you learned on the streets of Glasgow. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. So in negotiation, obviously you have the tactics and the strategy side, BATNAs and ZOPAs and different things that we can talk about. But there's other parts of negotiation which are fundamental, which most people don't realise. And that's, you cannot negotiate if you cannot communicate. And you cannot communicate if you don't have good emotional intelligence. So on the streets of Glasgow, they were rough and it was very gang culture and it was gritty, not pretty, as I'll say again. So one of the first things that I started learning was how to read people. Because if you're walking up from school, like you're just coming home from high school and 4 gang members from an opposing gang surround you and they, you might get stabbed. Scotland is a very harsh knife
You're
culture.
probably wondering what these people are there for. Are they there to befriend me or they're going to smack me up or something?
Oh no, you know they're there to try and smack you, but that's when you learn to read them because you're reading their body language, you're reading, listening to the tone of their voice, you're trying to figure out which one can be an ally here, which one's the one that's most likely to, which one do I need to work on, which in turn makes you then start working on your own delivery. How do I frame what I say? How do I say in the right tone so that I don't come across as aggressive, so that I don't come across as I think I'm superior to them? And also the emotional intelligence part, because you start to learn to control your impulse. You don't want to be impulsive in these situations, and you also don't want to show fear.
Yeah.
So you learn to start to be able to catch and release those emotions because you can't let them be shown and you can't act upon them. So all of these things growing up in the street, trying to stay out of danger, trying to survive, were the foundation of me learning. By the time I went into the workplace, I had these foundational skills, which I then got corporate training on, and I got professional training on to refine that and make it better. But I had the base already, and that helped me excel. Yeah.
Amazing. That's amazing. I mean, you cannot get any higher stakes than that, right? Because if you react wrongly, you literally get beaten up or your life is at stake. It's no longer about a contract or a job. It's literally you get smacked, if you're not even aware of what's going on. That's so interesting.
Yeah. Well, even on the price side, though, so if you and I do a business deal today, and we negotiate on the price side, tactics and strategy, it's a whole different thing if you're doing a deal on the street side, because the outcomes of our business deal is it either happens or it doesn't. The outcome of the street one is you don't go home.
Okay.
So
yes.
you learn to negotiate. You
really
learn how to understand what people really want, what's important to them, so that you can then lean into that. And that helps you so much in the professional world, yeah.
Oh, I mentioned to you before, you're like my gangster brother from another mother. Fist bump.
I think when you talk about the playground earlier, I was thinking, I think you're part Scottish.
Yeah, I think
Definitely.
so. I'm like this, wannabe gangster. That was like 11, 12 years old. And it's crazy, right? I mean, those days, I'm guessing, the gangsters I've come across along my life is not as hardcore as, what you see in Scotland. But I remember even when I was young, I used to have boyfriends that were gangsters as well. And it's scary to see how they're always using aggression to deal with situation. They kind of bully people and they negotiate with things like cigarettes and drugs and all that. And okay, long time ago, we no longer do this. We're old now, okay? So, it got me thinking about, so aggression in negotiation, and we want to talk about this when it comes to real modern workplace negotiation. It got me thinking about a situation where I used to work for a multinational company, and like you, I was in a sales role as well. I've always been in sales for 10 years before I came to do speaking and training. And in that company, I had a new leader that joined us, a brand new leader. So at that time, our sales team was quite huge. We must have had at least 8 to 10 people. And this guy came in and he says, he wants to change up things. And he says, instead of, because we used to submit our sales reporting like once a month, right? And he wanted us to start doing it daily. Daily, from once a month to once a day. That's a whole world of difference, right? So we were not very agreeable. So we went into a meeting and we were explaining to him the constraints, we're out the whole day. It doesn't make sense to report daily. Can we request, for this to be done on a weekly basis instead? And he got upset, started to speak louder and louder. At one point, he was just kind of using his title. And he said, I'm the boss. If I want daily sales reports, I expect daily sales reports. And that's what he said to us. And I remember all of us at that moment, we just kept quiet. The color from our face just kind of went away, right? We were drained. We started looking at our laptops. Nobody wanted to talk anymore. And you know what happened? Absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
So from that day onwards, nobody submitted any daily sales reports. Half the team was actually planning to look for another job. So he didn't get what he wanted at all, right? So the idea of this is, thinking about aggression in negotiation and how people who have used their power without people's skills, might be able to hold people temporarily, but you would lose them eventually.
Yeah, because what you're describing there, obviously I wasn't in that situation, but so you've got a couple of things immediately spring to my mind there. And this is classic in negotiation and communication. But first of all, aggression is not assertiveness, right? But also aggression will not build trust and influence, right? So what this guy you're describing, he's posturing, and just for anyone who might not know, like posturing, loosely termed, is putting on an act, putting on a bravado, acting strong, acting, like the peacock. So you're
like what we were doing in the playground. Playground posturing, okay.
So you're
this is workplace posturing.
Yeah, so you're posturing, but if you're posturing, you're actually defending, and if you're defending, you're not connecting. So if you want to build trust with the team, and you want to build influence to get you to do this daily reporting, he done the exact wrong thing. He should have focused more on building trust and influence. The loudest voice is not the strongest voice. Quite often, the quieter voice is the strongest voice. So he's trying to just dictate and demand to the team what's happening instead of actually trying to understand the team and what drives you and what motivates you. And that's what you would do in a negotiation. It's interest-based. What's your interests? What is it that you want out of this? What would motivate you to do this? And that's what would get you. But there's no influence and no trust in what he's doing.
Yeah,
He's just
absolutely.
been aggressive.
Because I remember this guy almost... the quickest word I would use is pissed us all off.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, almost everyone left. And within a year, he was asked to leave as well. That was how bad it was. Nobody wanted to listen to him. We were all so annoyed with this person.
On that point, if I can share a story, if I may. When I first started out, and we were back in the early days of sales and recruitment, and it really was, I think, what we spoke about before, my era was like the Wolf of Wall Street. It literally, if you took that movie, that's what I lived.
The Wolf of Wall Street. Wow.
If you go back into the late 90s, early 2000s, you go into like the recruitment and sales world, that's exactly what it was like. So we were taught to be aggressive. That's what we were taught. And Cindy, I still have vivid memories. Even if he's listening, my old director, Stephen Woods, from my first ever recruitment company, I'm sure he'll remember this, but he would stand there in the room, booming, always be closing, stand your ground, don't blink first, Take it to the brink. You know, like always be closing. A-I-D-A, do I have your attention? Are you interested? If not, hit the bricks, pal, because you are out. If you can't close, you are shit. Like, that's really...
Oh my God.
So we were then taught to go out there and really pressure, aggressively close people to the extent where I give you a great example. Hypothetically, you're a client and we were trained in a way where if you say, on this occasion, we won't engage you in your services maybe later. And I would say, okay, Cindy, I understand that, but I just want you to know that if you're not working with me, then I'm going to feed from you. So
I'm going to what?
feed from you.
Feet.
If I'm not supplying you with staff, then I'm going to feed from your staff.
Oh,
I'm going
feed
to
from your
use
staff.
you as my pool of candidates. So
Okay. Dear.
do you want to work with me, or do you want me to take all of your staff away from
Oh
you?
my God. Okay.
And
This is a threat, right?
oh, absolutely.
It's a threat,
But that's the aggressive negotiating. Now, here's the caveat here. So first of all, it worked because obviously you're pressure selling, you're pressure negotiating, you're being aggressive and pushing people into a corner where they say, yes, I accept. But that relationship broke down and died faster than the yes came. So yeah, they would say yes, obviously, but the minute that you had left and then they had time to reflect on how they had just been treated, then they never wanted to work with you again. So I then realised over time, just through my own learning, hey, this way that we're being trained is wrong. This is not correct. Aggression doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, pressure doesn't work.
And you don't feel good about it yourself, right? When
No,
you have
no,
to
you
do
don't.
that, right?
You don't
It's
feel
not
good.
comfortable to have to do that at work. It kind of like, you know, jives up your emotional alarm as well when you have to do that
Yeah.
for every conversation.
In a roundabout way, it also changes you to that way where you start to take things personally. Because if you get into that heated state, then when they say something back, you start to take it personally.
Yeah.
It's like that emotional hijack, isn't
Yes,
it? You-
exactly,
like,
exactly.
But what I found was when I started being more interested in actually trying to understand what it was that would make you happy, what it was that you needed, you get so many more yeses, and those relationships lasted for years. You can be assertive without being aggressive.
I love that. I love it. And I was doing a little bit of research and reading, and I came across this little Harvard study report. So this is going to be a little quiz question. Quiz time for everyone, and I know you're going to get this correct. This is the question. When someone uses aggressive negotiation tactics like intimidation, threats, or volume to pressure the other party, what outcome does research shows this typically leads to? A, the other party gives up and walks away. B, the other party becomes more cooperative. Or C, the other party fights back and escalates the matter.
Yeah, the other part, C, they become
C.
they become combative. And
They
start
become
mirroring-
combative.
They mirror
Totally,
your
yes.
behaviour. So that's one of the things actually that we learned when I did the Harvard program in negotiation is that the counterparty will start to mirror your behaviours and actions, like mirroring as we know, and yeah, they will become combative. It will become a lot harder for you. So the most sensible thing to do is actually be genuinely interested. So you will know this even from your coaching, Cindy. In negotiation, if you separate the issues from the person, this is critical, this is key. So separate the issues from the person, focus solely on the issues, not the person. You will get a lot further ahead. You'll get a lot better outcomes. And the person will feel better too because they won't feel attacked.
This is really interesting. Separate the issues from the person. Aggression is not assertiveness.
Yeah.
And principle number one is nobody likes to be cornered. Don't
No.
force people. So how does one person Maybe you can tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about how does one person assert themselves without being aggressive? How does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good
work world.
question, and it's more simple than a lot of people think, because the word assertive gives this connotation of being assertive, but it's what I call, my little own phrase is firm on topic, soft on person. Right, that's just my phrase, but what it means is you just be firm on the topic, but you be pleasant and nice and correct about the way you frame the delivery. You know, and
Be firm on the topic, but nice on the person. Is that what you said?
yeah,
Okay.
firm on
Very
topic. So you're not going to budge or waver on the topic. You're going to be firm on the topic, but the way you frame and deliver your message will be nice. Nice doesn't mean be soft per se, but it just means like if I'm clear. If I'm very clear and not ambiguous and transparent, and you understand exactly what I'm saying and where I'm coming from, and I deliver it in a nice way, then, like, just as a very, very basic example, right? Imagine I said to you, okay, Cindy, I understand that you can't budge on that budget of 50k. I understand how you feel, you know. I felt the same way when I've had budgetary constraints myself. But I can't budge either, and we're in the situation where it's either 50k or we don't have a deal. And I do get where you're coming from, but this is my own stance. Now that's assertive. It's firm on topic, but I'm acknowledging how you feel. You know, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way myself. You know, but what the situation is. Never say unfortunately. Right, unfortunately is a negative one.
Don't say unfortunately.
Always replace unfortunately with the situation is.
With what, sorry?
The situation
The
is.
situation.
So I wouldn't say, I understand how you feel with your budgetary constraints, Cindy. I felt the same when I've had the budgetary constraints myself. Now, what I wouldn't say is, unfortunately, this is what I need to charge. What I would say is, the situation is, that's the lowest I can go. And that's you being firm on topic, soft on person.
I like how the use or the non-use of that simple word makes it sound very different.
You know another good one to use as well, though. So if we talk about we're always being interest-based, this is key in any negotiation. Like, always focus on the interests.
The interest.
Don't get into positional bargaining. So you don't want to bargain over a price. That's crazy. You want to understand Cindy's interests, and then that's what I can use my leverage on. Right, so if you focus on interests, realistically what you're going to understand is what is important to Cindy. So then I can tie that to a benefit. Right? So, and here's another great little phrase, what that means to you is. So
What that means to you is.
it's every single time you're going to deliver a benefit, use the connecting phrase, what that means to you is. So just, again, hypothetically, just pulling an example out of thin air, just say, I understood from you that one of your interests really is the time of the process. Just say, I'm just using a basic example. So I get that from you, and then I use it back on you, and I just say, so in this situation, we're actually able to complete these processes in less than 14 days. And what that means to you is that you get it within the time frame you want, you save money because it's not running over project time, you make extra money, blah, 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 give it all the benefits. But what I've done is I've taken the interest that I got from you, you already told me it, and then I've connected what that means to you is, and then I've banged you with the benefit. But that sounds like manipulation, but it's not, because I'm trying to help you. I just need to get you to see how this benefits you, and that's the influence. So I understand your interests, and then I connect it to what that means to you is, and then I land a benefit in there, how it will benefit you. And that little magic phrase works every single time. But I will say, it's not manipulation. It's designed to help you. We want the best outcome for everyone. And sometimes you need help getting there. Which if you've been in sales, you probably know.
Yes. And all of this conversation is getting me to think about someone very close to my heart, which is my mother. Yeah, so my mother is she's a very petite lady, tinier than me, baby doll hairstyle. Yeah, chubby cheeks, and she's just this sweet, always smiling. She serves in church. She's a Sunday school teacher, and she prays for people. But when some of us in the family had financial crisis, she just stepped up to be this assertive person, right? She would walk to the banks and negotiate with the bank officer. She'll make phone calls. She'll comb through all our bills. And there was once, she actually called up a loan shark and had a meeting with the loan shark at the coffee shop. And she managed to negotiate for what she wanted. And I was like, super cool, this lady, because she's always logical, very empathic. She's able to speak very calmly. And it really got me to think that actually negotiation skills are leadership skills, right?
Of course, yes. 100%.
Absolutely, right?
Do you know something else that your mother is displaying, which I don't know if you've realised it or not, which is a very good negotiation skill? One of the biggest problems we see in negotiation is whenever there's conflict or things, people bury their head in the sand. They try to avoid it. They hope it will go away. Now, the strongest negotiators will name it. They'll just call it out and name it and face it and deal with it. Right? So the conflict management or dispute resolution that you hear of in negotiation, the people that do the best there are the people who don't hide from it. They identify it, they name it, they call it out and they deal with it. That's what your mum's doing. She's seeing that conflict and she's saying, right, okay, I'm going to face that head on, I'm going to deal with that. But a lot of people don't do that. Even in business negotiations, they hide from it, hoping it will go away. So that's a good one by your mum, is to actually face it head on and deal with the conflict.
Yeah, and it took so much courage. I'm like, Mom, you actually went and meet up with the loan shark. And then she'd say, yes, and I got what I want. So I thought that was so interesting. So let's talk about this courage. And, I've always heard people say, and no, I want to hear from you, right? There's this saying that goes, in a negotiation, never show your emotions. And the person who shows their emotions is weak. So, and we are EQ practitioners. Yeah, we talked about the importance of emotional awareness, emotional expression. But it sounds like in negotiation, it might not be same. So tell us, where is kind of like the balance of emotions in negotiation?
You said it correctly there, balance. That's the key word here. So on one hand, there is a part where you don't show your emotion. You need to be able to have a poker face. You need to have that ability, from your EQ, that you catch and release the emotions at the right time when it's needed. But sometimes you want to show emotion. For instance, imagine you and I are negotiating and we have a good relationship. So I might want to show you some vulnerability at that point because that will build trust and that will build influence. I might want to show my concern because I want you to see it, to see how you'll react. Because if I show you a little bit of emotion, I will then be able to gauge what is your emotion in return. And if I see that you say stone-faced or nonchalant or whatever it may be, I know that I need to change my tactic. But there is sometimes when you don't show emotion because that's the way it goes, especially, for example, maybe contract terms are price-based. And at that point, if you're working on budgets, you don't want to. So just imagine you tell me a price and that price really rocks me on my heels. It's like way above what I'm not going to go, I'm going to I'm going to
It'll be
try.
the losing streak if you do that,
Yeah,
right?
because it's like playing poker. I'm going to try and keep my poker face on at that point and be very nonchalant and keep going. So there is a balance. So it depends. It's contextual. It depends on the
It's
situation.
contextual.
But showing a little bit of emotion can be a very good tactic. Again, I want to reiterate, negotiation should always be ethical and never manipulative. So when we talk about these tactics and strategies, we're not talking in a manipulative sense. We're just talking strategic. You know, you've got to use the strategy. So I will maybe show you a little bit of emotion because I want to see how your energy changes, how your micro expressions change, how your tone changes, because that then allows me to know what you're thinking or feeling, and then I can use that as my leverage.
I love that. You know, I love how this is so interesting. And in order to be a good negotiator, you also have to have good EQ as well, because
Big time.
it's EQ for influence at the right time and space, right? If you realize that this person is somebody that, you know, is close to you, they actually do care about you, showing a little bit of vulnerability, it's getting you to be able to even have that relatability, right? Because people trust people who can show that they are human. But there are also times when you realize that the person is nonchalant and you realize that, hey, this is not a good time for me to show my emotion. And there's this nuance there, which is superbly interesting and powerful. It's not so straightforward.
You know what's very interesting about that part, Cindy, and I absolutely love this part you just said. So if we go just contract negotiations, say like legal redlining contracts and things, okay, fine. It's very process, document driven. But out with that, emotional intelligence is so powerful in negotiation because if you have a higher level of emotional intelligence, you can read the people, you can read the room, you can read the situation, you can feel the shift in the energy, and that's a superpower.
It is.
It's an absolute superpower.
It
Also,
so is.
if you're negotiating with me, your emotional intelligence, your ability not to be impulsive, not to react, your ability to, even if you don't like what I said, to hold your tone steady and calm, that's your emotional intelligence. But if you don't have that ability, you're going to lose because you're going to be impulsive or you're going to use a tone or say something and then the other side is going to clash. So yeah, emotional intelligence is huge.
It's huge, right? Yeah.
Empathy especially.
Exactly.
And in negotiation, we actually use empathy very strategically and tactically. So it's genuine, but we actually use it strategically when it's needed. Yeah.
Tell us more about this. Let's talk about a scenario, okay? Somebody comes to you and this person says, okay, Scott, tomorrow I'm going to be having a meeting with my boss and I'm going to try and ask for more money because I realize that I want to be paid more. As if I compare myself to my other colleagues, I think I am underpaid. So what would you tell this person to say as he goes into the meeting?
So just to be clear, so they're going to go into a meeting with their boss to ask for more money?
Yes.
Right. First of all,
Or HR, or the boss, yeah.
I cannot stress enough, Cindy, not exact number, but I'll just use a number, like about 80%, 80% of your negotiation should be your planning and preparation, which most people don't do. Only 20% of the negotiation should be the talk. So what I would tell if you were asking me that question, I would say, okay, Cindy, before you go in, what I want you to do is get a piece of paper, draw a line. First of all, what's your most desirable offer, your MDO, as we call it? So write that down, write that number. Right. Hypothetically, let's just say it's 200 grand.
Okay, as in that's what I want, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's your most desirable offer? What are most desirable outcome? Let's call it most desirable outcome. Then, at the other end of the line, I want you to write LAA, least acceptable agreement. So we've got 200k here. And then just say your least acceptable was 175. Right? So we've got 175 here. That's your least acceptable. So now at this point, which wouldn't have happened before, you're very clear on what you actually want, but you're also clear on what you'll accept, even though it's not fully what you want, but you are happy to accept that. Then I would ask you to write, right, what's your reservation point? Now, everybody thinks your reservation point is your walkaway. It's not. Your reservation point is the point. Imagine, so you ask for the 200k and we're negotiating, and I say, and your least acceptable is 175, remember? So if I say, right, you know, like 180, right? At that point, you might start to have reservations. Right? This is not going the way I want it to go. We're getting too close to my least accept. It's not your walkaway. It's where you start to have reservations. But if you've got complete clarity on this, tomorrow when you have this chat, can you imagine how much this is going to help you? So you know exactly what you want. You know exactly what the lowest that you'll accept, that you'll be happy to accept, even though it's not ideally what you want. You know your reservation, but then you're going to write down, right, what is my walkaway point? So if 175 is my least acceptable agreement, say 170 is my walkaway, at that point I'm walking away. You can also have what's called a BATNA. A lot of people get this confused. They think BATNA is a strategy. It's not. It's an actual thing. It's the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So in your sense, it would be, do I have another job offer to go to? Do I have something to fall back on, my fallback plan? It's not a strategy, it's a thing.
It's an actual thing, right?
Actual.
And what if somebody doesn't have that?
Yeah, if you don't have that, then you're really working with what you've got. But
it becomes harder, right?
In that line, I'm also going to ask you, when I say, right, so here's your least acceptable agreement that you will accept, but you prefer not to. Here's your most desirable. Here's your reservation. Now, let's flip that in reverse. So the employer that you're going to, and we don't know for a fact what they're going to say, but we can guess it will probably be something that mirrors yours in reverse, if you think about it. So their least acceptable will be 200, and their most desirable will be 175, roughly. So see if you've got your line and then you've got their line in reverse. What's in the middle? That's what's called your ZOPA. That's your zone of possible agreement. So in the middle of those two lines, there's going to be a zone where you're most likely to get your agreement and have all that mapped out. Now, if you go into the salary negotiation without having all that mapped out, you're just going in blind. It's like going to a gunfight with a butter knife. It's as much use as an ashtray on a motorcycle because you're not prepared. But there's an extra step to it. What you then need to do, concessions don't come for free. You never concede for free. So if you ask me for 200 and I say, tell you what, we can't do 200, we could do 185. You should already have planned your trade-offs. Okay, Scott, I understand how you feel, like, you know, can you help me understand why you can't pay the 200? Because you're going to push on that. And I give you a reasonable explanation. You say, okay, if I was to drop to 185, which is not my preference, but I want to work with you in collaboration, what I would ask in return is you give me 7 full days paid annual leave in addition to my current annual leave. Because you need something in return. And you might say, hypothetically, they take it down again or whatever, and they say, oh, you know, if we were giving you extra annual leave, we might need to take it down to 175. And that's you now getting to the bottom end of but you're still happy to accept it, remember, because you've mapped it out already, so you know. So if it was taken down again, because you've already planned out all your trade-offs, you say, okay, if that's coming down again, this really doesn't sit well with me, but if, we want to work together. So in addition to the extra days annual leave, you might ask for an end of year bonus, you might ask for RSUs at the top in the company, but either way, for every concession you make, you'll already have pre-planned the trade-off you're going to ask for. So without all this planning, can you imagine walking in, can I have a raise, please? No. But if you've got all this mapped out and you know your numbers and you know everything, and when they start bargaining with you, you're so on point because you know what you're not going to accept, you know your zone of possible agreement. But what I would also do as well, though, when you go in to ask for that raise, think, why should I give you a raise? So you're going to make sure that you walk in there with facts and evidence. You're going to walk in there to say, so this year I've achieved this, I've saved the company this, I've made the company this, I've improved this process, whatever it may be, but all of your achievements that you've done that's benefited that company, you're going to go in there with that written down because data tells a story and data doesn't lie. And it's very difficult in a negotiation for somebody to give you a rebuttal if you've got facts and evidence in front of you. See, again, there's no emotion there. You're separating yourself and you're just presenting the issues. See, if you go into a salary negotiation and you're not separating yourself from the issues, you'll get emotional. When I tell you no, you'll take it personal. And I deserve it, I'm a good employee, I always turn up in time, and it starts to become personal. But if you separate yourself from the issues, you've got all your facts and evidence and all your preparation and you're laser focused just on the data points, you're going to do very well. You'll probably walk away with your 200, to be honest. But if not, at least you're getting 7 days extra annual leave and some ESOPs.
I love kind of where this is going. So preparation is the most important point.
Big time.
80% of that should happen before the conversation.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, be prepared with your facts and evidence.
Yeah.
And the third thing was concessions never ever come for free, right? So always be prepared for some trade-off. So if you can't give me what I desire, can I at least get leave? Maybe I want to change of title. Maybe I want to work from home. So all these would be considered that.
Just to add to that part, it's not, can I have some extra leave? Because if I say, can I have some extra leave, you just say no. So what you want to do, this is where our assertiveness comes in again. Here's a thing in negotiation, right? Confidence beats explanation. If you're confident, you have no need to explain. I actually did a LinkedIn post on this a couple of weeks ago. Confidence beats explanation. So if you confidently don't say, can I? You just say, okay, so if we're dropping to 185, which is not ideal for me, but I'm prepared to do that, and in return, what I would like is 7 days fully paid annual leave on top of my... That's the assertiveness, not can I. This is...
So it's not a question.
No, it's a statement.
It's a statement.
Yeah.
It's a statement. Okay.
Just like a lawyer would do. So have you ever noticed lawyers don't ask questions so much as they make statements? A lawyer wouldn't say, did you do a podcast with Scott yesterday, Cindy? A lawyer would say, you did a podcast yesterday, didn't you, Cindy? Yes. It was with Scott, wasn't it, Cindy? Yes. You see? That's what a lawyer will do. A lawyer will not ask questions, they'll make statements. And that's the same way you're going to do in a negotiation at that point. You'll make it as a statement. Okay, 185, not ideal. In return for that, I would be looking at 7 days fully paid annual leave additional, or 5 days, whatever it is. Yeah. And remembering also, you went in there very clear on all of your numbers. What you wanted, what you would accept, what you wouldn't accept. And this is a key thing because most people don't do that. But when you do that, you're very confident and you don't get blindsided and you don't get stuttery because you know it. And you're like, okay. And if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. And you always be prepared to walk away if need be. And you know your walk away point because it's in your planning. It's on your line that you drew. Okay,
Wow.
this is the point I'm walking away. It's not working.
I was just saying that, you know how, asking for a raise in salary is a very emotionally loaded commodity. It's money, right? And it links to our family, our identity, our self-worth so much. How does one person practically separate their emotions from the situation?
Yeah, which is a difficult thing to do. And something you said there is correct. Quite often it's attached to your identity.
Yes.
You feel that your identity is
Yeah,
being
you feel like you
challenged.
deserve this amount and you're not being given that. It affects us, right, immediately.
Do you know, in negotiation or psychology as well, we actually have a thing called the tribal mindset.
Tribal mindset.
Yeah, and so I'm digressing a little bit here, I apologise, but imagine we're in a negotiation, there's maybe two of your colleagues and me, and I challenge you or correct you or whatever it may be. That challenges your identity and you slip into the tribal mindset. Where do I fit here? What's my place in this tribe? You know, like there's an actual, I won't go too deep into it, but
But we will feel that way, yeah.
it's good reading to do. But going back to the original question, sorry, you've got to hone those skills and practice. Like, first of all, even professional negotiators like me, every single month we do practice. People might not realise that, but we have clubs and groups of peer negotiators and we practice every single month, even though we know what we're doing, because you've got to keep practicing behind the scenes to be sharp and ready. So you want to practice and practice, but the point is you need to always focus solely on the data. You need to be able to develop the ability to remove the emotion out of it. A little bit like coaching. Like if you're coaching somebody, you have the ability to remove your own emotions and judgment and focus solely on the facts that are presented to you by your client. It's the same in negotiation. If you need to be able to say, right, this is the issues. I'm not negotiating on a person with a person. I'm negotiating on a salary, on a number, on these achievements. And that's what you need to be laser focused on. And it takes practice because it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Just remove yourself. But we're all emotional beings.
Yes, we are. And that is emotional intelligence as well.
Yeah.
Because EQ is not just about being all fluffy and telling people your feelings all the time. Emotional intelligence is also ability to know where to dissociate, to take yourself away, to use your thinking and feeling to do the right things at the right time, at the right place with the right people.
I had a conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago. Basically, just to cut it brief, they were saying about emotional intelligence was fluffy. That was literally their words. And I actually says, emotional intelligence is not a soft skill, it's a hard skill. And they were like, what? I'm not saying emotional intelligence is not a soft skill, but I had to make my point.
Yes.
My point I was making is emotional intelligence is also a hard skill. It's something that's used very strategically, very tactfully. It's not all just about the empathy part of it.
Yes.
Decision making, problem solving, self-actualization, all these things that come in. But if you're negotiating, they all come into it. Problem solving, decision making.
Yeah. Holding your ground, asking for what you want, courage.
Yeah.
Reading people is a life skill and a leadership skill. Yeah, fear, dealing with the fear, dealing with your anxiety when you're asking for something.
Think about this one, Cindy. For most people, if your job isn't negotiation, what do you think the number one emotion that people feel before going into a negotiation is?
Fear.
Yeah.
Definitely fear.
It's fear because they're fear, they're afraid, they're not used to it, they don't know what they're walking into, they're not confident in their ability, so they feel fear. And that's one of the things that you work on when you train people in negotiations is how to overcome that fear. But how do you overcome that fear comes back to what we were talking about. Focus on the issues. If you can manage to remove yourself and focus solely on the issues, the numbers, the data, the terms, whatever it may be, you become a much more effective negotiator because you've removed yourself from it. You're not in it. You're not there. If that makes sense.
Totally.
It's just data.
Yes.
And that's what you're negotiating on.
Super interesting. Thank you so much for your wisdom and insight. Telling us the mindset behind negotiations, the EQ around it, how to prepare and how to respond. So we are going to move forward to the quick fire connection segment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you 5 questions and then you'll have like 5 seconds to answer, okay? So it's a quick one. Okay, number 1. Would you rather negotiate with a loud and angry Singaporean auntie or a drunk Scottish football fan?
Oh, Singaporean aunties can be quite, that's a difficult one. Probably a drunk Scottish football fan.
Why?
Because a tiger Singaporean auntie is tough. And she won't give any ground, but the drunk Scottish football fan, you can just talk him round and push him away.
Give them more alcohol.
I've come across some Singaporean aunties in my time who I wouldn't like to mess with.
That's so cute. Okay, question number 2. What's a favorite song that gets you all confident and pumped up for negotiations?
Favourite song that gets me pumped up for negotiations? Head Honcho by Eminem and Easy Mill.
Eminem.
Yeah, I love Eminem.
Oh, I love Eminem. You are like my gangster brother. That's why I say he's like the gangster of gangsters.
He has that song with the Filipino rapper Easy Mill, which is Head Honcho. And that gets me pumped. I listen to it every day.
Gets me pumped up. Huh? Oh, really? Okay, super cool.
It's on our Instagram story today.
It's on Instagram stories.
You and me.
Okay, you have to send me that video, okay? Okay.
It's tagged.
Number 3. What's the weirdest thing that you have ever negotiated on or bargained for?
The weirdest thing I have ever negotiated or bargained for? Well, that's a tough one, actually. I'm trying to think of something really weird. Maybe just lunch.
like wonton mee? Something like that?
No, like literally, like negotiating on who buys lunch. That's a difficult question. You should have given me an easier one than that. The weirdest thing. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly.
Extra kaya on your toast?
Yeah. I can't actually answer that one properly.
It's okay. We'll move on to the next one. If you had to go back to your younger Glasgow self in the streets, what would you tell him?
Be less aggressive and less impulsive. When I was younger, I was in the environment I grew up in, I was very aggressive, very impulsive. And if I was to tell my younger self, it would be, no, that's not the way to go. There's a better way. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're in Singapore right now.
Yeah. Or it might also be get the hell out of here quicker.
You're in the best place. The final question. What are the top 3 things that are absolutely non-negotiable for you?
Do you mean in a negotiation or in life?
In life. What's non-negotiable?
Trust, respect, and integrity. That's my 3. When I was corporate, obviously, and I'd managed many teams, I used to, every single time when either I joined a company or when we had new people joining the team, I would always do a little leadership talk. And I would always give my leadership non-negotiables. So I would tell people, look, I'm easygoing, you can do this, you can come in late, you can go early, etc. He says, but my non-negotiables are, and they were always three of them. I want your trust, I want integrity, and I want respect. Respect needs to be earned, but what I mean is be respectful. Be respectful to the people around you. I don't just mean me. Be trustworthy and show integrity. And I don't know if it fits with the theme, but I don't associate or hang out with people that I feel don't possess those three. So in my social life, if I deem someone to lack trust, integrity, respect, I will just cut them off. Like, I can't be around people that don't have those same values.
And those are your very precious personal values as well, it seems.
And I practice them myself every day. You ask anybody that knows me, I'm trustworthy, I'm respectful, and I've got integrity. It's three things. I was going to say a Scarface quote there, but I won't. But you know the Scarface movie I talked about?
Yeah, you were mentioning that to me earlier.
So he's got a famous quote. He says, I only have two things in this life, my word and my balls, and I don't break any of them for anybody.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I like that one.
Thank you so much, Scott. This has been super fun, super cool.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Very insightful at the same time. So where can people find you?
Primarily on LinkedIn, but you can definitely get me on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok for copy.
For copy?
So that's
for negotiations?
That's always going to be Scott in Singapore. But other than that, I live on LinkedIn.
You live on LinkedIn, yeah. We both live on LinkedIn, yes. Thank you so much for being here today and for bringing so much value to our viewers today. So everyone, as you are watching this episode, what is one tip that you have taken away today? And what is one action that you'd like to apply to make you a better negotiator? And a gentle reminder that negotiation is really not about dominating the room. It is about reading the room, knowing what you want, preparing for it, and even having the EQ to ask for what you really want and to influence the people that you're having a conversation with. So thank you for being here with us today. I'm Cindy Tien with the Own Your BS show, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.
You sure that was okay?
Yeah,
I felt like I was talking too much.
I love the examples that you shared. The Wolf of Wall Street and the Eminem that just came out was a part of your character.
I love Eminem, but he was my era. So when I was...
He's my era.